I feel like I have recorded this video a dozen different times, and I am so happy that I did not post the first few recordings because every single time I think about this woman's situation, my perspective changes. Like the thing that I focus on changes. My opinion doesn't change, but what I focus on the most changes. The first time I had heard about Isis, the trophy wife, the new trophy wife and her situation, I thought to myself, oh my God, those poor children. And that's still the most important thing to me. Like those children are the central focus of everything. I hope they're okay. Like I hope that they're safe. I'm so glad that they have been removed from that situation. Like that was the first thing that came to mind. Immediately afterward, I was thinking to myself, oh my God, this poor woman. I hope that she continues to give her children the help that they need. And, you know, along with her kids going to therapy and that kind of thing, like I hope she goes to therapy. And naturally, I'm thinking about the fact that men are socialized to be monsters and like how horrible it is that women like her, women who have children, are taken advantage of. And I tried to keep my judgment of this woman as minimal as possible to keep the judgment where it needs to be, and that's with whoever harmed those children. And, you know, if this woman is telling the truth, my assumption is that it was her husband that hurt those kids and that he is 100% in the wrong. It doesn't matter if she was neglectful or, you know, if she was not as present as she should have been. At the end of the day, anybody who hurts children is a terrible human being. And that is, you know, I mean, words cannot describe how horrible that is for somebody to hurt children. You can blame everybody in the world around, you know, the situation for not protecting those children, but it is the person that hurts them that deserves all of it, all of the punishment, because a person's parent should not be their abuser. However, the more I started to do research and started going back and looking at her old videos, the more there were a lot of holes. Not to say holes, but like there's just a lot of information I don't know. I don't know enough. I don't know enough to say that she's completely in the clear about everything. I don't know enough. And I hate saying that. And I don't know, again, this is another video that I'm recording and I don't know if I'm going to post it because ultimately it's a lot of bad decisions that led to this situation. It's a lot of really, really terrible decisions. And I don't honestly believe that hypergamy content is to blame for any of this. I've seen a bunch of videos where people are blaming hypergamy content for something like this happening. When in reality, it's not just rich men who take advantage of women who have children or who take advantage of children in the first place. Poor men do this, middle class men, homeless men, wealthy men, it does not matter. So to kind of try to make it seem like that the gold digger movement is these gold diggers that are throwing their children to the wolves, I'm not buying it, and I hope that nobody else buys it. It would be no more reasonable to believe that than to believe that a poor man is automatically a monster as well. I said in my shorter TikTok video that men are socialized to be monsters, and I strongly believe that men are socialized to be monsters. And what this means is that men and boys are not monsters. They're not born monsters. But we live in a society that kind of trains people, human beings in general, but especially men, to believe that they have to be the aggressor, they have to be strong, they have to be emotionless, they have to be all of these things that do not involve being kind and taking care of the most vulnerable of our populations. Men are not taught that. As much as they'd like to believe that they are equipped to take care of the most vulnerable, they're not. And the fact that so many people would rush to believe this woman, should she, you know, whether she's telling the truth or not, because it's understandable that men would do something like this to children, kind of proves the entire point. It is very believable that a man would do this to children. It is so believable that this woman's only crime is not being vigilant enough. I gotta help my sister taking her groceries. Hold on. So anyway, this young woman's crime is not being vigilant enough. And when you think about the fact that that is the number one thing that a lot of people are faulting her for, shows that there's a huge blind spot. Well, first of all, it shows that men have not done a good job whatsoever of giving themselves or making themselves credible in any way. Like, they have no credit. And if there's a crime, we're going to assume it's a man. If there's anything that's bad happens, we're going to assume it's a man. And we would probably be right to do that, because the way that men have conducted themselves in our society has been one that just makes people not trust them. You know what I mean? So, if any men who are watching this, sorry. I mean, and y'all know that that's the case. Y'all know that y'all have branded yourself in this way. The wars, all of the unalivings, all of the grapes, all of the horrible things that happen to human beings, the majority of those terrible things are at the hands of men. Women are not doing nearly as much damage to this planet as men are doing. It's a fact. I can put up numbers and all that, but why? Why do I don't need to do that. So it's understandable that this woman says what she says, and everybody kind of jumps towards, well, what did you do to protect your children? Why didn't you protect your children? Why were you allowing them to be in harm's way and this and that way? Like, it makes sense that people are kind of being, aggressively presumptuous, I guess, if that's the word for it, in their assumptions that this woman did not do enough to protect her children. Even though she's saying that she watched her kids like a hawk, immediately people started looking through her social media, all of her lives, her old videos, to see if she was truly as vigilant as she says she was, and she was found lacking. And what I mean by that is that there have been a number of lives that people have shown. Well, there was one in particular that I've been seeing quite a bit, where Isis, the new trophy wife, was recording one of her lives or whatever, her live streams, and you can hear the sound of her children crying in the background, like her girls screaming in the background, and you hear her husband's voice. So if she was as vigilant as she says she was, a lot of the parents watching that said that they would have ran to see what was going on with their children. And this is what I mean by men have not done a good job of kind of showing themselves to be better, or creating reputations for themselves where they are trustworthy and where they are safe. Men are not seen as safe spaces, universally speaking. And the reason why I say that is because if you trust a person enough to have children with them, the assumption is that you can leave the room and that child be safe. You can leave the room and that child be with the person that helped you to create that child, and that child is safe. So I know that a lot of people were kind of jumping down her throat, like, well, she wasn't being vigilant enough because those children were screaming, and why didn't she, go and see what was going on? But if men had reputations for being safe, for being trustworthy, and for being any of the things that they claim themselves to be, protectors and providers, nobody would have to check to make sure that they're not hurting their own children, or check to make sure that they're not, like that their child is safe with this person. So like, the logic that many of us have around domestic situations, I guess, it's always finding a way to blame a woman for something that a man should be taking the full blame for. You know what I mean? Like, it's always, well, why did she allow that to happen, as opposed to why did he do that thing? You know what I mean? Like, why did this person commit this horrible and atrocious act? It's never that. It's always, well, how come she wasn't vigilant enough, or how come she didn't see that coming? Because if everybody saw everything that a man does coming, then we would all be on a different planet. You know what I mean? Maybe we should all be as untrustworthy as everyone is pretty much saying, in so many words, that we should be. If women were as skeptical of men as many of you are saying that we should be, we would not be dealing with men in general. But we're all on this honor system when it comes to men. And, you know, it's kind of a way, it's just weird to me to just kind of assume that somebody would be worried about their child if their child is with their father. You get what I'm saying? Like, most people wouldn't be in a romantic relationship and make children with someone that they think is going to molest those children, which leads to another thought that I've had about all of this. I do not know Isis, the new trophy wife. I don't know her personally. I don't know a lot about her. I heard recently that somebody said that when she got with the guy that's 20 years her senior, the man who she's saying now has, hurt her children. I know that somebody had said that he hurt her as well at some point. But I have not seen that a video where she talks about that, or maybe I missed it. Maybe when she was talking about the situation in general, I missed it. But either way, I don't really know much. I so I'm saying all that to say that it is within the realm of possibility that she as a woman would help this man hurt children. I'm saying it's in the realm of possibility. I'm not saying that she did, or that she is, or that she is likely to have done that. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that stranger things have happened, and that has happened. There have been some women who are really awful who have helped awful men do bad things to children, and vice versa. There's men who have helped women do terrible things to children. It's within the world that we all live in. It's been a lot of really crazy things that have happened on this planet, and it is a possibility for her to have done that, to you know, maybe that's the case. I hope it's not the case. I'd like to believe that it's not the case. I'd like to believe her. I'd like to believe that she is not a person who intentionally hurt her own children. I am choosing to believe that. But what I'm saying is that it is a choice that I'm making. It's a choice that I'm actively making. Isis has said herself that she was the victim of child SA, and this kind of, to me, kind of explained a lot. I'm far from a psychologist. I don't, I'm not trying to diagnose the woman or anything like that. But one thing that I will say is that re-victimization is not uncommon for people who have not had the chance to kind of work through some of their problems, or some of their traumas. I'll put it like that. And so I could see her having been taken advantage of, because, especially by men, because perhaps, and again, not a psychologist here, but perhaps she was trying to reclaim some power or a sense of safety from men who were the same people who took away that sense of power and safety from her. I know that I can only really speak from my own experiences of having, tried to reclaim power in ways that just seem very counterintuitive. And so I can totally understand another person trying to do the same thing, trying everything that one can try in order to avoid the same problem. Kind of like when, if you date like a tall guy and then you're like, oh, tall guys are terrible. I'm just going to date short guys. That was the problem, is that short guys are the answer. Tall guys are the problem, short guys are the answer. And with this young woman, it seemed like she was constantly looking to be with the opposite kind of man from the kind that she was with, thinking that, oh, well, maybe they're poor. Maybe that's what it was. They were just of lower quality. I want a high value man. And so she's going after a high value man. And I mean, this is me attaching my bias and my perspective. And, maybe I could be wrong. I don't think I'm wrong, though. But because some of the language that she used, some of the things that she said in some of her videos kind of just seemed to me to be very looking for a solution in a man, when a man is not the solution at all. The thing that stood out to me the most was in her video where she talks about how she was making like $90,000 a year, and she had her two sons, she had her own place, she had her own car, and she said that it was one of the lowest points in her life. Or she said it was the lowest point in her life because she didn't have a family. And I thought to myself when I was watching that, because this was me watching it to kind of do research for this video and just to kind of understand her mindset in the beginning. I had watched, this was one of the videos that she had posted up months ago or years ago, I'm not sure, where she was talking about how she met her man. And she was saying that that was the lowest point in her life, was not having a family. And it was like not realizing, perhaps maybe it was a Freudian slip, or subconsciously she didn't understand that what she was doing was kind of discounting the family that she did have, her two boys. That was her family, you know? So she's seeking out a man because to her, that's a family, having a man and children. And so to me, it feels like this woman was looking for a solution in a man when the solution was perhaps for her to heal from the trauma that men had caused her in the first place. From the child SA that she experienced to being a teenager and planning to have a child with whoever she was with. She never really goes into detail about that. We don't know if that was an adult man that she was with. We don't know if it was a fellow teenager that went to school with her. I'm realizing that I don't have the video up, but this was the video that I had saw that from.
So after having my second child, I was working hard. I was making really good money. I think I was making about maybe 90K at the time, which for me as a 24-year-old woman was good. I thought I was doing good. I had my own place, I owned my car. I was very self-sufficient, all about the mindset of, oh, I can do it by myself. I don't need a man, as so many of us modern women say, you know, I can do it all by myself. And I soon realized after one Christmas of it just being me and my two boys that I wanted a family. I wanted more for myself. It felt so lonely and it was sad. It was really sad. And it was, I'd say, one of the lowest points in my life. And I realized that I don't want to do this on my own. I don't want to raise these boys on my own. I want a family. I want someone that I can love, someone that loves me.
It seemed like she had a lot of baggage and a lot of trauma and a lot of things that she needed to work through and heal through. And adding a man to that equation was not it. That was not gonna be the answer. On top of this, it seemed that she had kind of found her value and the value of others in very superficial things. And what I mean by that is that, you know, this is a beautiful woman. She's young. She's, you know, she's fit, or she looks fit. You know, she's light skinned. All these things carry weight when it comes to what is seen as desirable. I could imagine that she saw all of these superficial qualities about herself as valuable in the sexual marketplace, and they were, you know? And so she talks about how once she got married, she felt like she's the kind of woman who can get a ring. I think she had said that. I'm the kind of woman now that can get a ring, and now I teach other women how to get rings and that kind of thing. And it's like, it seemed to me like she was placing a lot of value in being a wife. She, you know, she talks about being a trophy wife, and she says it like it's a good thing. And that's ironically not a thing. Like, that term can be used as a pejorative. Trophy wife is like you're an object. You're not a person. And this is what she called herself, you know, and this is what she was proud to be. And I think she even mentioned something about being someone that a man can bring around his mother and bring around his colleagues. So to me, again, maybe I'm just projecting here, but it seemed like she was putting a lot of value in what she symbolizes and represents, as opposed to her value as just a person who exists and deserves love and deserves to be respected, you know? Like, she was so desperate for this status from the things that she said that I don't even think she even realized how bad it looked. It kind of went against even some of the things that her heroes, like Shira Seven and the Universe Guru, have said. She talks about how she bought this man a $300 ring. And, you know, of course, he went back and he bought her a ring and, you know, kind of did things the traditional way, but her desire and hunger to get to that role meant that she went against a lot of the advice that a lot of the gold digging gurus tend to give, which is you are to be chased. You are the prize. And so I think that a lot of whatever her trauma was from having horrible experiences with men has kind of created a person who in a lot of senses, in a lot of different ways, was broken, you know. And I don't know if the man that she married could see that, or I don't know if the other men that she dealt with could see that, but I'm sure it wasn't too hard to see because, I mean, spending $300 for a ring, you know, to give to a man, and you're supposed to be the trophy wife, and you're supposed to be the one that is, you know, getting the kind of woman who can get a man to, you know, put a ring on your finger. There was a lot. There was a lot that I saw that kind of showed me that there's a level of desperation there under the surface. And when I use desperate, I'm not using it in the way where, you know, I'm talking about a person who's been hurt, a person whose biggest driver is probably fear. So I don't know. There's a lot going on. And again, I don't want to put my lens on this person too much. I don't know her. So ultimately, it's just a lot of bad decisions that have led to these children being hurt. And at the end of the day, the most important thing are those children and making sure that they are safe and that they are okay. We can blame the adults all day long and they will forever be at fault. That is for sure. However, the biggest, most important thing that we must all remember in all of this are those children, you know, and that's what I think it all comes down to, the kids. Let's all make decisions that make the world a better place so that people don't walk around pointing the finger at each other when a predator is on the loose, or when so many predators are on the loose, because the way that society is set up right now is very every man for himself. You know, we don't teach regular people how to deal with predators. We don't. We are kind of, it's like this weird honor system, I guess, where we expect everyone to just know to be extremely vigilant, and then we will allow the predators to just be gross and weird and say terrible things and do terrible things. We vote them into the highest office in the land. We are in a society where predators are allowed to just prey on other people unchecked. And then when someone is hurt or victimized, we look at the victim and say, why did you let that happen? Why did you allow that to happen? And that is backwards and it's wrong, and we need to fix that. So our society needs to address the issues that we have with abusers and abuse of power, because that is what creates scenarios like that one with Isis, the new trophy wife. That said, stay safe, be vigilant, and, you know, I mean, I don't know. I really don't know what else to say. This story really, really bothers my spirit. It makes me sad. And I hope the truth really comes out. You know what I mean? I hope the truth comes out, and I hope those children are safe. So that's it. That's my video. And let me know what your thoughts are below. I'm curious to know what everybody else thinks, because there's just so much more information that just keeps coming up. And it's been changing my perspective on how I see things. And, you know, I'm just curious as to what you guys think. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Please share. And if there's anything that you want me to talk about, put it in the comments below. All right. Bye.